I think we need Mike to do a warm-up act for us at the beginning of every Zoom. That was great.
Good evening, everyone. We are going to first ask everyone to make sure that your microphones are muted. If you will, please mute your microphones. And now we're going to ask if you would all show us those beautiful smiles. They're going to attempt to take a picture before we get started. So if everyone would smile for the camera.
Okay, so I have two screens. So if everyone can smile, and I'll let you know when I'm moving on to the next screen. I'm going to take two each. So this is the first one. 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to take one more of this screen. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and then I'm going to move on to the next screen over here. And on this screen, I think I have everybody. And 1, 2, and 3. And one more time. 1, 2, and 3. There we go. All done. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashante. Again, and thank you everyone for muting your lines. And then if you could try to remember after you speak, if you would go back and mute your line, that would be appreciated so very much. So thank you, everyone. Want to welcome all of you, welcome Kalamazoo community to our Isaac 2020 annual meeting, Building a Beloved Community, Overcoming Difficulty, Keeping the Faith, Moving in Hope, and Advocating for Rooted Change. This annual meeting is dedicated to those members of our Isaac family who have passed. Miss Brenda Stubbs, the Reverend Dr. Don DeYoung, and our own Isaac staff person and family, Sheila Tachi. Let's talk about our beloved community. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. spoke of the beloved community. He believed that the beloved community, while not devoid of conflict, is free of violence. It is a place in which our deepest values of abundance, equity, community, hope, and most of all, love are infused into our policies and practices so that every individual is held as beloved.
Our covenant. We enter into a covenant agreement. We enter into a deep promise. We promise to love justice and pursue it. As a congregation and organization, we commit ourselves to the pursuit of a just community.
World where hope triumphs over fear.
Wendy, you are frozen. So I will read your part and then we'll see if we can get your mic fixed. Even now we are seeking to build a world where hope triumphs over fear, where God's abundance meets the needs of all, where we live in sacred and beloved community instead of dehumanizing isolation, where the sun of equality has risen in a land where love endures.
We journey toward a promised land, a journey hallowed by the blood, sweat, tears, prayers, and witnesses of our ancestors. We covenant ourselves to honor their toil, standing in evidence that it was not in vain.
In all these things, the pursuit of justice, the journey towards a promised land, a path hallowed and well-worn, we covenant ourselves to working together. We stand together, acknowledging that the journey will be rough, but refusing to let that stop us from forging forward.
Together we raise our banners and fit them together to form Isaac. We are committed to working together in order to reap the promises of a land of righteousness and peace.
In working together, we will be the world we desire to create. We enter into a covenant agreement. We enter into a deep promise. We promise to love justice and pursue it.
Now we will share a video by Rabbi Shicker, encouraging us all to vote in the August 2nd primary.
I'm Rabbi Simone Shicker from Temple B'nai Israel, and I want you to get out and vote. It is incredibly important to embrace our democratic process, both by participating in the primary election in August and in the general election in November. We can't complain that we are unhappy with the decisions our elected officials make on our behalf if we do not participate. You have the opportunity to make a difference for today, for tomorrow, and for those in the future by electing representatives at all levels of government, from school board to state level representatives to federal level representatives who represent the values that you believe in. And remember, ask questions. You deserve answers. Vote.
The following organizations, congregations are part of Isaac, and we'd like to thank you and acknowledge them. And as I read your name, feel free to raise the hand emoji. Christian Church Disciples of Christ, Church Women United, Coalition for Common Ground, Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense, El Concilio, First Congregational Church, UCC, First United Methodist Church, First Presbyterian Church, From the Bible Church, Galilee Baptist Church, Grace Covenant Ministries, Greater Faith Empowerment Center, Kalamazoo Friends Meeting, Lutheran Church of the Savior, Metropolitan Kalamazoo Branch NAACP, Mount Zion Baptist Church, North Presbyterian Church, People's Church Unitarian Universalist, Portage Chapel Hill United Methodist Church, and Second Baptist Church, St. Barnabas Episcopal Church, St. Luke's Episcopal Church, St. Martin's of Tours Episcopal Church, Sunnyside United Methodist Church, Tabernacle Church of God in Christ, Temple B'nai Israel, Unitarian Universalist Community Church, Unity of Kalamazoo, Wesley Foundation of Kalamazoo, Westminster Presbyterian Church, and Westwood United Methodist Church.
We would like to just offer farewell to some very awesome and important people. We want to thank the Reverend Nathan Dannison for his work and his contribution and his passion towards social justice.
And we would also like to thank Reverend Jocelyn Mason. Reverend Mason, words cannot describe how much we love and value you and how much we will miss you, your presence, wisdom, light, faith, and advocacy for justice. You are forever Isaac family, and blessings to her and her move. And also to Sister Shalana Lewis. Shalana, the Executive Director of TRHT, Truth, Racial Healing and Transformation, stepped down in 2021. She is a powerhouse and agent of change who brought the pieces and people together for systemic solutions. She taught us about the importance of advocacy with healing, and her presence changed spaces and institutions for social justice. Forever Isaac family. At this time, I want to go ahead and go through our Isaac family team members, and I'm just going to go through these quickly, lift the names and their position, and you will hear from many of them later on in this annual meeting. And I always say, everyone here, it's divine because we have so many things going on in Kalamazoo and we have the right people in the right spots. So first, we have Brother Ed Genesis, our community engagement coordinator and the Blocks Club founder. And one of his favorite quotes, "The grind don't stop, move accordingly." I also would like to lift the Blocks Building Leadership Organizing Communities for Keys to Succeed Club, so Blocks Club, neighborhood captains. We have Brother Dontre Hempfield, Brother Samuel Graves, Brother Edward Griffin Jr., and Brother Ryder Griffin. And they are part of Isaac's outreach team. Also, thank you to E. Wolf. And in 2021, she was working with us on Jewish cultural healing. And we also started having conversations about Jewish and Black healing circles. And also our tech individual who is running the Zoom today, Caleb Biter, our marketing and communications intern. Special thank you. And also Charlotte Ojadarin Whitfield. And her favorite scripture is, "He that oppresseth the poor reproacheth his maker, but he that honoreth him hath mercy on the poor." Proverbs 14 and 31. And as you all receive those beautiful thank you cards, she is the person who creates them. So a special thank you to her. Our donor relations coordinator. And also Ashante Collins, our anti-racism task force intern. And right here, you will see a blurb from her poem. She writes poetry as well about the importance of Black history being a part of every day of the year, 365 days. And Irving Daniel Quintero, our gun violence prevention task force intern. And one of his favorite quotes is, the fight is never about grapes or lettuce, it's about people. And then Cesar E. Chavez. And then also Sister Kathy Faison, our housing advocacy and task force intern. And one of her favorite quotes, what is our deepest fears? Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. And also our group violence intervention coordinator, Brother Michael Wilder. There are no throwaways. You are worth being alive and free. And also our GBI street outreach workers. We have Brother Michael Monroe, Brother Rodney Atkinson, Brother Yafincio Harris, who also works at Your Urban Alliance, and then Pastor Michael Stewart. And some of the quotes that are lifted from our street outreach: we need to educate to elevate, and we need to plant the seeds that we want to grow. And also our GBI community interns, Brother Jordan Watts, who also is a supports coordinator at Urban Alliance, Brother Alejandro Rodriguez, who is also a supports coordinator at Urban Alliance, Brother Keno Neighbors, and Brother David McDonald. And some of the quotes that have been lifted by our community interns: my life is a testimony to share, and everyone needs to be loved on. And also our community working team lead, Sister Elisa Watkins Monroe. And then also Commissioner Pastor Esther Juarez was a director of outreach in 2021. And a special thank you to our Isaac office staff, Sheila Tachi, our office manager, may she rest in peace. And then also Christopher Roberts, who helps us with data entry.
I just wanted to bring to light again what one of the critical events that happened that we know is the Capitol insurrection, which we were speaking against how addressing white supremacy. And so we just wanted to lift that up as such a critical event in our nation. And just while I'm here, I want to let you know, we won't read all of the text and all of the slides. And so we have 170 some slides to get through. But when this event is over, please go to our website when you can view this at your leisure and take your time and read through all the quotes and everything, because they're all awesome. We just don't have time to read through them all here tonight. But please, let's remember that critical event, that Capitol insurrection.
Hi, my name is Rick O'Million. I'm a member of Kalamazoo Moms Demand Action, Coalition for Common Ground, and also Isaac Gun Violence Prevention Task Force. I'm a co-chair. In 2021, because of the COVID lockdown, we did a virtual service of remembrance. In the past years, we had done services at Galilee Baptist Church, and we had a lot of different partners. You can see them listed at the bottom of this slide. I won't read them all, but we've all worked together over the years to, I think, about 8 years. Well, this one says 7th, so this year was the 8th year. A service of remembrance. You can go on to the next slide. We talked about the victims of gun violence in Kalamazoo and did a remembrance of people by name. And we had excerpts and prayers and thoughts by these speakers: Elder Rhonda Edwards from Galilee, Rabbi Schicker, who spoke previously on the video about voting, Adrian Vasquez from El Concilio, Alejandro Rodriguez from Urban Alliance GBI, Genesis Griffin, at that time a WMU student, now working for Griffin Place, Nicole Lee, an artist who did the mural at Lacrone Park that we used in past years, and then my wife Martha and I, representing Isaac and Moms Demand Action. Juan Wee from the Fetzer Institute and TRHT, and Malia Raza Khan from the Kalamazoo Islamic Center. And there was a video put together that also included the statements and the prayers by all the previous pastors that I mentioned, but also a video put together by Ed Genesis from all of us, our takes and our concerns about violence in Kalamazoo, gun violence in Kalamazoo. And it was a very moving video and a conversation at the end with Ed. I cannot remember her name, I'm sorry, I apologize. It was very, very touching. So that was the video we did last year, excuse me.
Channel 3 News did a town hall on systemic racism in January 2021, and members of our Isaac family were panelists on that for that town hall, and we discussed housing, education, criminal justice, employment, healthcare, and government, and to raise awareness about this issue and hopefully help us all come to solutions.
Black Lives Matter stands in support of Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. May 16, 3 p.m. at Bronson Park. Isaac was a proud co-sponsor.
Racism against our Asian American and Pacific Islander family members is nothing new. History in present day offers painful stories of racism, dehumanization, internment camps, violence, and other incidents of covert and overt racism. White supremacy has painted the false narratives of the model minority myth to create false hierarchies and dissension among people of color. We at Isaac stand with our Asian family members and against hate. And as May started in 2021, the celebration of Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, we are reminded that white supremacy must be dismantled.
We cannot recommend this book to you enough. All of us who've been part of a book study. It is not a book that you just read or just discuss in a book group. Every chapter is an inspiration, a short inspiration for you to actually do the work of journaling about your own experiences, your own thoughts. It's the work we need to do to dismantle white supremacy. I love the subtitle. It calls for us to combat racism, change the world, and become good ancestors. Dr. Pat Stromster was a wonderful facilitator for this group. Ubuntu, the South African idea of the way that we should treat each other, is how we tried to do our book discussion. And you can see in purple the most important message. This work is part of a journey that is never done. It is some of the most important work that we are called to do at this time in history. Some people were so inspired by the book study that they stayed together with Maggie Adams and Dr. Carolyn Heinemann, facilitating further, deeper work together on this, the challenges in this book. The author, Layla Saad, says, there's no way to sugarcoat it. White supremacy is a system of oppression living inside of you as unconscious thoughts and beliefs. And when you begin to interrogate it, it will fight back to protect itself and maintain its position. You will need 3 things for this work: your truth, your love, your commitment.
Then we have one of our facilitators on the Zoom tonight, Dr. C.
Hi, everyone. I'm Carolyn Heineman. I'm not sure I can say much more than Toby did, except to say that as our time with Pat came to a close, people were feeling the need to go further and recognizing how much we didn't even know that we didn't know. And that in realizing what we didn't know, also realizing that we were directly harming our Isaac and community BIPOC family members, and that even our good intentions didn't seem to be enough to overcome what we couldn't recognize in our own white socialization. So we've carried on. We've been meeting monthly for a year to do that deeper work, and we plan to continue meeting because we don't seem to run out of things to talk about.
Thank you. And we want to talk a little bit about our redistricting advocacy. So when Kalamazoo County, the Reapportionment Commission headed towards a reduction in our number of county commission districts, Isaac, with numerous community and valued partners, advocated through emails, through public comments for having enough majority minority districts and strong representations of Black and Brown residents, community members on the county commission, and also racially equitable maps. And to the right, that image right there is just an example of one of the individuals. It was Elder King who gave a public comment during the Apportionment Commission. We decided as a collective to have a collaborative community forum, and we invited the Apportionment Commission members. We held this forum, we invited them, and we wanted to really lift community concerns and examine maps that were submitted because they were not racially equitable, and also talk about designing and coming up with a map together with them, community, with the commission, so that we would have racially equitable maps and outcomes as well. Some of the partners included not only Isaac, but Hope Through Navigation, the NAACP, El Concilio, and TRHT, and many others. These are just some Zoom shots of October 12th. That is when we had our community forum. We had over 80 Zoom attendees, and then we had 3 of the 5 commission members attend: Treasurer Thomas Whitener, Chair Scott McGraw, and Clerk Meredith Place. These are more Zoom screenshots. I want to talk just a little bit about the redistricting forum speakers, and I'll just go through them and tell you what their role was on the agenda. And so Elder Doug King, he gave the welcome and the prayer and the purpose. And then Francis from TRHT gave the Indigenous Peoples Day and Land and People Acknowledgement to start us off. And we also had retired Captain Stacy Ledbetter from TRHT, and also Toby Hannah Davies from Isaac. And both of them, they talked about the TRHT touchstones, lifted those and our ways of being together, and also white supremacy culture, and Tema Oken that came from that article. And then Kathy Faison and myself, Kathy talked about or asked those who were in the Zoom room how this apportionment commission process was making them feel. And we jotted down what people were saying. And so we put them in people put them in the chat, and we just wanted to lift all the feelings and the emotions that came out of that. Words such as inequitable, feeling angry, feeling hurt, upset. And then we also showed a few videos of different elected officials who had given us commitments to the Anti-Racism Task Force. And then also we ran the public comments from the October 6th meeting. And so we just wanted to pull everything together, remind our elected officials that they had committed to anti-racism work with us. We also had Gwendolyn Hooker from Hope Through Navigation, and also Nikki Lee giving a summary from the October 11th Apportionment Commission meeting, and then also delving into the definition of inclusion, and racial equity, what those words really meant. And then we also had Vice Mayor Patrice Griffin talking to us, also Portage City Council member Chris Burns, and then Matt Smith, who is a historian. And Vice Mayor Griffin talked to us about racial equity and asked community members what racial equity meant to them, and community members lifted that. And then also Council member Chris Burns and Matt Smith talked about maps and lifted up maps that were racially equitable, and also the concerns with the maps that were submitted by the commission and why they were not racially equitable. And we had Ms. Wendy Fields from the president of the NAACP, and Brother Ed Genesis from Isaac and Speak It Forward. And Ms. Wendy had asked of the Apportionment Commission, the ask was to take advantage of the deadline extension that they were given in order to create an 11 district map in collaboration with us community members. And then also Brother Ed Genesis led the question and answer portion for the Apportionment Commission members. And Treasurer Whitener was the one commission member who was able to stay until the end and was able to answer questions. So I want to say, even though the outcome was not something that we were advocating for, that what happened lit a fire underneath all of us. And the fire was already there, so don't get me wrong, but it really helped us deepen our relationships as community organizations. And we decided after that post, redistricting, what happened with the post redistricting and the maps, that we were going to continue on together going into 2022. And we will be focused on voter empowerment and education and awareness, deepened engagement with our community members, especially our BIPOC community members, and then also lifting up elected official accountability and how important that is. And then also everything that we do, centering it in anti-racism and equity. And so the vote August 2nd, that is a piece, as you looked at the videos, that's a piece of our deepened engagement and alliance. So a special thank you to everybody. And I'm going to hand this over to Sister Ashante.
So for the Anti-Racism Task Force team leads, we have Mr. Al Dixon, who is a co-chair, along with Emily Hazel Mitchell, and myself, as our Anti-Racism Task Force intern for 2021.
Good evening. My name is Al Dixon. I am the co-chair of the Anti-Racist Task Force. During 2021, the Anti-Racist Task Force continued to work on their commitments from 2020 to create opportunities to transform community members, to build resistance against systemic racism, and to organize around policies that support racial justice, and equity as we build the beloved community.
During Isaac's 2020 public meeting, we asked public officials to make commitments to work towards building a beloved and equitable community for all. During 2021, some of those public officials stopped by the Anti-Racism Task Force to share with us what they had already been doing. Kalamazoo Defender Office founder and executive director Josh Hilgart, prosecutor Jeff Getting, city manager Jim Ritzman, Director Dorla Bonner, and Captain Matt Elzinga visited our Anti-Racism Task Force meeting to share what is already being done in their respective departments, organizations around items such as anti-racism work, education, training, trust, and transparency.
We continually conduct one-on-one with members of the community to better understand their efforts in the fight against racism in our beloved community. Some of the one-on-ones that we have done in 2021. One-on-one with Director Dorla Bonner, with Anthony Josh Hilgart, Prosecutor Jeff Getting, City Manager James Reisman, and Captain Skipper Matt Ezra.
The Anti-Racism Task Force responded to voting rights opportunities and threats by mobilizing community members in support of HR 1, which is known as the For the People Act, and HR 4, which is known as the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, against the 39 voter suppression bills introduced into the Michigan Senate. Community members wrote letters through a letter link provided by Isaac to elected officials, and we thank you all for your support in those efforts.
At Isaac 220 public meeting on October 22nd, we invited law enforcement, attorneys, and officials to attend the workshop, Latinic Community, Cultural Struggles, and More, facilitated by Andrea Vasquez and Lisetta Mara Almaya from El Casino. U.S. Attorney Erwin Lane, Deputy Manager Laura Lamb, Director Rebecca Kapp, Director Dorla Bonner, Portage Chief Nick Amon, Prosecutor Jeff Getting, and Director Josh Hilgart. A special thanks to you, to El Casino under the leadership of Andrea Vasquez for the life-changing work they do, especially during this time of blatant racism towards the Latino community and immigrants.
During our 2020 public meeting on October 22nd, Isaac offered an ask to U.S. state, city, and county elected officials to commit to attend anti-racism, equity, empowerment, and accountability workshops, which was facilitated by Reverend Katoya Roberts from Wisconsin. The purpose of these meetings was to start having intentional discussions and self-reflections about how we ensure anti-racism and accountability are always applied in our governing actions. Below, we see some of our attendees, which included Jeanne Hess, Commissioner Chris Pradle, Mayor David Anderson, Commissioner Jack Urban, Representative Julie Rogers, County Clerk Meredith Place, County Chair Tracy Hall, Vice Chair Tammy Ray, and County Commissioner Fran Bruder, County Commissioner Zach Bayer, and County Commissioner Jen Strebs.
In 2021, we continue to address the policy systems that reinforce disparity and systemic racism. The Anti-Racist Task Force worked with a number of community partners to facilitate discussions with players in the criminal justice system on what can be done to build trust and accountability in our community system, using the National League of Cities Policing in the 21st Century Armed Forces Air Anti-Racist Task Force had conversations with attorneys, judges, public safety and officials in our city, county, and township. These conversations were centered around reflection, community, healing, anti-racism, transparency, and relation building. There's a picture there I couldn't see.
Caleb, you could skip this slide. It's a duplicate. In 2021, a group of individuals and organizations came together to form the Campaign for Criminal Justice and Transparency, known lovingly as CCJT. Built out of a need for transparency, justice, fairness, equity, and accountability from our justice system, this team strives to help build trust between the community and those within the system. But there are multiple organizations, including Isaac, TRHT, MK, NAACP, the Kalamazoo Defender's Office, Hope Through Navigation, and many more other organizations and individuals who support these efforts. In November of 2021, CCJT stopped by our anti-racism task force meeting, and they had a forum discussion centered around education and information about the open database, which was presented to the county commissioner in November 2021. And we educated them on what the database would be on, which consisted of making crime data such as offense type, conviction, gender, location, sentence length, court outcomes, and race accessible to the community. And this actually passed with a 7-4 vote from the county. And right here is just a screenshot of the county commissioners during that meeting in November.
Hello world, how you doing? This is Don Trey Hemphill, lead for the Blocks United initiative here in Kalamazoo, which is an initiative through Isaac, and we're here to tell you, August the 2nd, make sure you get out and go and vote. Once again, August 2nd for the primary. Make sure you get out there and vote. It's very, very, very important because what takes place in August is who's on the ballot for November. So if you want those laws changed and for us to live right and get what we need, you gotta vote August 2nd, people, to make it happen. Once again, this is Don Trey Hemphill, Isaac, Blocks Club, and I stamp this message. Hello world.
Good evening. My name is Tammy Ray, and I serve as the co-chair of Isaac's Gun Violence Prevention Task Force alongside Rick O'Million and Irvin, who is the intern.
And right now, Brother Ed will talk to us a little bit about the It's a Trip debrief meetings.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Charlotte. I was going to say Dr. Sis. But it's a trip. Trauma-reduced informed practices. So what we wanted to do was start talking about some of the root causes to gun violence and not just always address gun violence as it's just one thing. And so we put together an event to address the trauma-reducing informed practices with Dr. Jess, and then we invited Prosecutor Jeff Gettings, Sheriff Fuller, the manager, Dexter Mitchell, and many more to come in and watch the video and have a debriefing with us to talk about ways that we can interrupt some of the trauma and the root causes leading to gun violence.
Along with the It's a Trip video and feedback from those 3 gentlemen from around Kalamazoo, Dexter Mitchell, Sheriff Fuller, and Jeff Getting. We also had some other asks of each of them. Talking to Dexter Mitchell, we asked about the township's annual report and making that available. He talked to us about their process, about working with WMU to send out tools through mail outs, and also, I believe, email survey. And those were collected over the course of the year. And Dexter did also commit to work with us on the Gun Violence Prevention Task Force to distribute that trust survey and talk about it when it was finished. Next slide. Talking with Prosecutor Getting after we talked about the It's a Trip, the Trauma Reducing Informed Practices panel. Well, we talked with him about meeting with neighborhood representatives in high violence areas, high gun violence areas in the city, and about decreasing gun violence, and also about a commitment to longer term trauma services based on that discussion we had with It's a Trip that Ed helped us with. Next slide. And then with Sheriff Fuller, after talking about the It's a Trip video that he took a while for him to see it. He had some things that came up, but we talked to him too about an annual report and stuff that they were working on at the Sheriff's Department, including collaborations with trauma services to staff and employees at the jail complex. We also talked about working with us on a trust survey or safety survey, which we're still working with him on.
%58% of the U.S. population has experienced gun violence directly or indirectly. At this time, we'd like to take a moment of silence for those who we have lost. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We wanted to also lift that in 2021, that gun violence was declared a public health crisis, and this was passed by the City Commission and the County Commission. And we wanted to lift and honor that Vice Chair, Sister Tammy Ray, and then Sister Gwendolyn Hooker. They were the individuals who wrote that resolution. So a special thank you to them.
The following slides are meant to show the importance of loving others as we love ourselves. Love in color. Love knows no limit to its endurance, no end to its trust, no fading of its hope. It can outlast anything. It is, in fact, the one thing that still stands when all else has fallen. And know these three remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. 1 Corinthians 13, 7 through 13.
Good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Ed Genesis. I am excited to be here and proud to be a part of the Isaac family. I got caught off guard that last time, so I just jumped right in. But I'm excited to talk about this part. This was an event that we put together and then stepped back. It's called Walk a Mile in My Shoes. And the reason for that is we realize women of color, specifically Black women in Kalamazoo County and Kalamazoo City, are not just under-celebrated, they're under-protected. And so when we found out that the biggest homeless population was single Black mothers in Kalamazoo County, and then the infant mortality rate along with a lot of other things. We wanted to hear specifically from not only the community, but also the officials. And we put together Walk a Mile in My Shoes, and we heard from specifically Black women from the communities of Kalamazoo speaking up and speaking out to raise awareness about some of these things and having actionable steps to help interrupt. And it was nice.
This slide shows our annual meeting from last year, when we celebrated all the wonderful accomplishments and events that we held, many of them virtually because we were still in the midst of a pandemic. Congratulations on a great annual meeting.
And here we just wanted to lift up just some photos at different partner events. So a special shout out to our partners.
So hello again. Hope y'all don't get tired of me talking to y'all. Ed Genesis here, founder of the Blocks Club, which is building leadership, organizing community for Keys to Succeed. And it's a grassroots initiative to not only becoming, but staying active in our own communities. Not that we don't, appreciate the missionary style approach of people coming in, but we prefer to do it ourselves. And Just Leadership USA has a quote, and that is, "Those who are closest to the problem are closest to the solution, but furthest from the resources." And Isaac allowed us to develop and create a home for the Blocks Club. And so that's no longer the case. And these are photos right here where we just do different initiatives and to do outreach, whether it's Know Your Rights cards, the Walk a Mile in My Shoes, the gun violence, the different basketball games. There's a lot of different layers to being community. And when residents appreciate the community and the neighborhoods they live in, then that's where the love develops for your neighborhood. And we don't have hoods, we have actually neighborhoods, and we put the neighbor back in it and we build community. So that's what we're doing with the Blocks Club, one block at a time. And that's that. Thank you. Okay, I should have kept going. So right here we have the Stop the Bleed training. I'm excited. Dr. Sandra Medellin from Bronson. We took the Stop the Bleed training, and that was with Vice Mayor Patrice Griffin and also County Commissioner, Vice Chair County Commissioner Tammy Ray. Got boots on the ground, took the training, and then the picture in the middle, Blocks Club and KDPS partnered and did some community outreach. Yeah, and that was cool. And then we also attended, a few of our Blocks Club team members attended the police academy training, where they talked to us about the different things that they do. And we learned the different layers that KDPS has to do. So that was interesting to learn the other side as well. Okay, I will keep it going. We also partnered with Allen Chapel Church, and we did outreach. That was amazing to be able to reach out to community, to let them know that we were here and that they could join. Pastor Southern from Allen Chapel Church actually became a member of the Blocks Club. So he's a part of the initiative. And this was just a fun day that we got out. We had pizza, DJ Playhouse, Dr. Charlay, Vice Mayor Patrice Griffin dance, Toby's out there. It was just a real nice day. A lot of community came out and supported, and yeah. The picture in the middle, I want to lift up that you see them getting their groove on. So the pictures on the outside are Dr. Charlay and Vice Mayor Patrice Griffin called grooving. But the picture in the middle, these guys were from out of town, and they had one cousin who lived in town. And when they heard the music and saw what we were doing at a church, they walked over and introduced themselves, and they thought it was just nice to see community building like that, and specifically people of color building like that in the community and being active, not because something happened, but because we want something to happen in a positive way. So we're building and touching different people. Okay, and then there was a loss. A 9-year-old was tragically killed. I won't say gun violence, but a gun was involved. The community came together at that moment, and we prayed with the mother. And Brother Yafincio, shouts out to Big B, he captured this picture. He was on the other side of the street, and he felt so, as he explained to me, he felt something, and it made him not want to, not be able to move at that moment. And he just was kind of like paralysis almost set in. And not that he's not saw it before, but it's just the age and we're trying to do so much in the community, and he was just taking it all in. But he had the forward thinking to capture this picture, which I'm so thankful that he did, and he sent it to me instantly. And this is the community coming together, meeting people where they're at in the time of need and loss, and having the mind and the hearts to pray in those times.
Thank you so very much, Brother Ed. Right now, I want to talk a little bit about GVI, which stands for Group Violence Intervention. I'm going to talk a little and then pass this over to Brother Wilder. And Group Violence Intervention, that is a collaborative with community members, law enforcement, and social services. And just a little background, this came out of the 2011 Holy Ground campaign listening sessions. When violence was impacting our community, we were losing community members to violence, gun violence, and also losing community members to incarceration. And so Wendy Flora reached out to David Kennedy, and this was brought to Kalamazoo. I wanted to say as well, if you look over to the right, this is a screen zoom shot. And in 2021, we were able to have our first culturally competent consulting sessions with Damara West at Change Agent Consulting. And so as you can see, we're all smiling, just a beautiful moment to be able to really look at this strategy and also think about cultural competency and the work that we are doing. And you can see folks in the Zoom photo. And then also for the next slide here, the GVI War Room individuals, that's the War Room right there. It is housed at Urban Alliance, who is our social service lead. Our law enforcement lead is KDPS, and then Isaac is the community lead. There's so much that happens here. And just to capture a few, because I can't capture them all, but a family and loving environment, holistic, the village approach, we've heard that word village, dispelling what society has told us about ourselves, dispelling that. Also mentorship, mediation, youth and family support, safe lodging, finding safe lodging and housing, especially after gun violence, and then connections to Black and Brown therapists. And we don't have a picture of everybody who's part of the team, but also we call them bros and sisters. doing the work, just awesome, committed individuals. And I want to lift up our coordinator, Brother Michael Wilder, and I'm going to pass this on to him for just a second. But just a special thank you. We're so happy he can be with us tonight. We always would tell him that his life was a testimony. And again, in 2022, actually, life again, a testimony. And we just feel so blessed that he is still here with us, that God is still using him and he's on that healing journey. And so I'm going to pass this over to Brother Michael Wilder to talk about the GVI Peace Smokes, and then also the 2021 marches and rallies that GVI and Pastors on Patrol did. So Brother Wilder.
Hello, everybody. My name is Michael Wilder, Group Violence Intervention Coordinator. Peace Smoke was a idea that I came up with because I just feel like we needed something to combat gun smoke. So I was like, Peace Smoke defeats gun smoke. Peace Smoke is barbecue grills, sparkles, and candles. And I figured if the first time I did it was for homicides. If someone get killed in Kalamazoo, I would go to that location and put up my tent and have a Peace Smoke event where I would give away 100 hot dogs, 100 hamburgers. And when people ask me, is this free? I would say, yes, it's free, but what you owe me is you have to tell your little brother or your little cousin or your nephew or your son that he's worth being alive and free. That's what you owe me for the meal. And so I would hope that if anybody's coming to shoot up the block and they see all these tents and barbecue grills and children having fun, they would not shoot up the block. And so hence, Peace Smoke beats gun smoke. So that's the gist of Peace Smoke. And it's been working out so far, but I do believe the having presence of the police department at the Peace Smoke events does help the safety also. So it's growing though. I got other cities calling me right now, would like to have Peace Smoke events in their city. So we just got to keep pushing forward, collabing with one another and doing these events, keeping Peace Smoke in the air. Let them get bigger, call them what you want. But at the end of the day, barbecue grill smoke in the air, to me, exudes a sense of peace and fun. Barbecue grill smoke in the air. So thank y'all very much.
Thank you so much, bro. Thank you. Thank you. And then the next few slides are just in 2021, different marches and rallies with GVI and Pastors on Patrol. And that sign in the middle says, the gentleman who's holding the sign said, hands are meant to heal, not kill. So a special thank you. I wanted to also lift up Jumpstart Kalamazoo, which we had in 2021, and Sister Lisa Watkins Monroe, who is our community team lead. This was her awesome idea. Resources for youth and resources for families with so much going on. Sometimes as adults, we may forget that as this gun violence is impacting us, it is also impacting children as well, just even hearing gunshots. She had a wonderful idea of having something fun. We were at Lacrone Park, music, food. We were even thinking about generational things. We were laughing because we were even with the younger kids teaching them how to jump rope. You know, it's just different generations. They're more of a technological age now, but even being able to jump rope with them, that was just a wonderful time. So a special thank you to Sister Lisa. And then also in 2021, we have GVI and JABS family. JABS stands for Justice Against Bullying in Schools. And Sister Gwendolyn Hooker, who is the CEO and the founder of Hope Through Navigation. And then Justice and Jade Calvert, they are the co-founders of Justice Against Bullying at Schools. And so we love to attend on Wednesday for the Wednesday meetings after school. You see us all on the left. And then also we were out at Pretty Lake for a wonderful JABS resilience Pretty Lake camp, which was really awesome. Lots of wonderful speakers.
I think it's really nice that we deal with children that young that the JABS Club is involved with, because getting to the youth at that age is critical. If we can get to them and teach work ethic and put it into them before the streets and they sell some drugs or something like that, or a girlfriend get with a drug dealer boyfriend and think it's cool. So at that age is very critical. That's why I really love working with JABS.
Thank you, bro. And awesome young people. Yes. The next, this one, the Youth Rally Against Gun Violence, that was a collaborative. So you see there was fun. We had youth speakers who came to the mic, also lifted those who had been lost. And unfortunately, we know that our children and youth do lose friends to gun violence. So some of our youth were able to come to the mic and talk. And then at the top, you see a lantern, a couple of lanterns. We were able to light the lanterns and for those that we have lost. So a special event as well. This next slide right here, in 2021, we started having intentional conversations about gun violence prevention, our work and our efforts. And so this is just a snapshot of one of our meetings. We were in Urban Alliance. We have different organizations around the table, and just so thankful for that conversation. This was a conversation after we had experienced gun violence as a community. And we're so excited for the next year as we do the annual meeting for this year to tell you all where we are at in our collaborations together. That's so powerful. So a special thank you. I wanted to lift as well, healing from racialized trauma and gun violence trauma. And I just want to lift the Black and Brown Therapy Collective, and they are at Rooted. As we were talking about Sister Shalana Lewis, there were conversations that we had in 2020 about the gun violence that was happening, that was impacting our Black and Brown community members, and then also the lack of resources out there for that trauma that not only comes from racism, but comes from gun violence in the neighborhood as well. And so a special shout out to her, because as we were talking and debriefing, she went to the foundation, was able to secure that seed money. And here we have the Black and Brown Therapy Collective. And that is a collective of Black and Brown therapists, awesome, licensed, wonderful therapists, different language. Different therapists can speak different languages as well, depending upon what language that you would like to speak. And I just wanted to lift a quote from one of our community members. And he said, "My Black therapist can relate to and understand what I've been going through and what I'm dealing with." And so I just think that's such a powerful quote. And as a community, as we're talking about gun violence trauma, and we're talking about how racism is a public health crisis, we have to lift also racialized trauma, the trauma that is caused by systemic racism and racism. So a special thank you to the Black and Brown Therapy Collective. We're so happy to be a part. And then last here, and I'm going to hand this over to Coach, the Gun Violence Prevention Network. In 2021, we started organizing. The Gun Violence Prevention Network is a year-long issue network made up of 4 community foundations. So we are connected to the Kalamazoo Community Foundation, teams that work together to build a base of knowledge and effective gun violence prevention practices and share these practices in communities they serve. So just learning what's going on and what other cities are doing, along with Kalamazoo. We have Team Cleveland, Milwaukee, and Ventura. And then on the team as well, Brother Ed Genesis, Sister Gwendolyn Hooker, Commissioner Sister Tammy Ray, who's not pictured here, Sister Emily Avaleras, Sister Jen Haymoss, Captain Stacy Ledbetter, and then myself as well. And so at the top, it says public health crisis. So not replacing anything, the wonderful work that's already going on, but also really talking to other cities about what it means for gun violence to be a public health crisis. And we're so happy to be able to share this with the community. And soon we should be having a speaker who has been doing this work for some time join us, and we will keep you posted. I'm gonna hand this over to Coach.
Yes, this is Coach Schultz, and when pandemic hit really seriously, and a lot of the churches closed down. I'm a member of First United Methodist Church down in Bronson Park, and some of us that had been a part of our Sunday evening food service for people to just come to church and have a free meal, that had grown to 80 to 120 on any given Sunday. And we just started wondering, as the church was closed, not only were our friends eating that we'd made friends with, but where were they sleeping? Many of the people, you don't have to be homeless to come to those meals, but many of them were. And Tim Mullican from our church said, one of the needs I think that they have most of all now as we get closer to winter is to be able to sleep warmer. And he had heard of this place in Detroit called Empowerment Plan. I found out they had a website, empowermentplan.org. And to make a long story short, my wife and I drove over to the place where they make this sleeping bag coats. We found out that the coats were designed by people that came from shelters and homeless people in Detroit. The people that were brought in to teach them how to make the coats actually had employment for a couple of years to try to get back on their feet. So we brought 10 pilot coats back. We went to the Presbyterian Church on Wednesday night and gave out the first 10 and asked the people to come back and tell us whether they worked or not. And then the bottom line is that about that time, the Michigan Community College Athletic Association contacted me and gave me an unexpected award. And in that process of talking about that award, MLive picked it up and they called me back and they wanted to know more. I mentioned the coats. They wanted to know more about them. And then that MLive article seemed to have legs. And a lot of my former players sent donations for more coats. And our church then took up collections to even get more coats. And at this point, we've given out 275 of those coats over the last 2 years. Some of you probably have seen them. We have just a few coats that are still left for the coming winter. But all of this, I can honestly say, was motivated by the mission and the covenant that Isaac has taught me in my few years of involvement with Isaac. I appreciate the people that have led me to stick my feet in the water and to get more involved in retirement than I was able to do when I was coaching. And we're just honored and blessed to be a part of the Isaac organization that's made this possible. And now it's even led into a phone ministry where we've given out over 500 phones in the last 7 months. And we continue to do that through advocates at the different organizations that we work with. It's a blessing to be a part of this ministry.
Coach, thank you so much. We want you to know that the Isaac and TRHD Housing Task Force is working really hard to create real housing for all the people that you're helping. Before we talk about what we've done in 2021, we want to remind you of the amazing progress that we were able to make in 2020. Everything we've done since has been based on the end of 2020 when the Housing Equity Ordinance passed the City Commission unanimously in September, thanks to the vision and the incredible determination of Vice Mayor Patrice Griffin, who inspired and led that work from beginning to end. In purple, you can see what a difference the Housing Equity Ordinance makes with all the classes of people, that it's no longer illegal to discriminate against when they apply for housing in the city of Kalamazoo. So we want to thank the commissioners who all voted yes, the city commission, the task force members who worked really hard to hold up the need for the Housing Equity Ordinance and then follow through with advocacy for a couple of years. And then all of you and everyone else who supported the work that we're doing together. The Housing Equity Ordinance is one of the things that we've been able to do together that's really transforming our community. Because of the Housing Equity Ordinance success, Kellogg Foundation made a video that they showed nationally how we heal about our housing equity work and the impact of the ordinance. And a number of us, you can see our names, were interviewed and quoted in the video. And we had another huge success in November of 2020 when countywide, the voters supported our Homes for All campaign, which is a campaign for a millage to support all different kinds of housing. And it's 7.5 times as big as the Vote Yes for Kids millage that we had approved in 2015. This is a huge change for our community. And City Commissioner Stephanie Hoffman couldn't be here tonight, but I want you to know that as one of the 3 co-chairs of the Homes for All campaign, she really inspired a great deal of the work. Her experience as Open Doors Kalamazoo executive director and lead staff before that for many years, and her loving approach to everyone that crosses their doors was just what we needed to get the Homes for All millage to be designed that the way it was, to create equity in housing and to treat everybody with dignity. And the exciting part is how we've been able to follow up on that.
Thank you so much, Toby. And so in 2021, I was still serving as the vice mayor of the city of Kalamazoo. And so because our housing task force meetings took place at the same day as our commission meetings, I would give videos every month. Thank you to Caleb, the Isaac Marketing Communications intern, for recording those videos and shared those out with the housing task force just to keep everybody up to date, up to speed about what was happening at the city commission. And to continue on with the work that was done in 2020 and beyond, or before that, to move the housing equity ordinance, been working with officials and their colleagues all year to invite them to have one-to-ones at the monthly meetings and get to know them better. And you can see some of the officials that were highlighted: Manager Mitchell, Trustee from Comstock, Jason Knight, Kalamazoo Township Clerk, Mark Miller, Vice Chair, County Commission, Tammy Ray, and Portage City Council Member, Chris Burns. And also another huge event we had in 2021 was a housing equity workshop for the surrounding municipalities. It was such an incredible feat for the city of Kalamazoo. More work needed to be done to inform and educate our municipal partners on all they can do to adopt a housing equity ordinance. So you see that was well attended by the photo here. And we continued on with that work by digging even deeper and having discussions with elected officials throughout the township and municipalities out county. We had conversations with Kalamazoo Township, with Comstock, also with Oshkosh and Texas Township as well. So it was incredibly rewarding, and we look forward to, at our next annual meeting, having even more updates on this housing equity work.
Public comments were also made at the city commission meetings. And this was the housing task force members. A couple of issues that were spoken about were housing, the emergency housing ordinance. And that was for temporary housing and purchase of new sites. And there was different people that was present that did speaking. Public comments were also made for MISHDA. So we'd like to thank Mayor David Anderson. He actually alerted us to this. And so a couple of things that was spoke about was the hotel and motel conversion, as well as the walk score. And as they said before, a lot of this you're able to read and get more information on. And I'll pass it back to you, Toby.
You probably know that the Housing Task Force has been Isaac and TRHT jointly for a couple of years now. On the left, you can see the pictures of all the people who are Housing Task Force leads. We meet monthly in between the meetings of the Housing task force so that we can plan for the next meeting. And also be really effective as a team with Isaac and TRHT working together. One of the ways that we work closely with TRHT is going through their evaluation process that they do formally with all their design teams, which is their name for all the different issue groups within TRHT. And in the purple at the bottom right, you can see the comments that our task force members gave to the evaluators, Fernando Ospino and Lenore Yeager. You can see everyone's really excited about the work we're able to do together.
All right, thank you, thank you. I just wanted to give a special thank you to our very own Rabbi Schicker, the rabbi at Temple B'nai Israel, for 2 awesome, informative, and engaging Zoom sessions, Intro to Judaism. And then also on the right, you can see some of the individuals who attended via Zoom. I wanted to also lift that as we are talking about allyship and being allies to individuals who are not like us or might be of a different faith or a different race, etc., that means that we have to listen. And so that deep listening. So just a special thank you again to Rabbi Schicker. Part of those sessions included what is Judaism, who is a Jew, what are the Jewish holy books, how do they relate to each other, ritual objects, holidays, and rites of passage. And so just an excellent 2 sessions and a special thank you again.
Hello, Isaac family. This is Reverend Rachel Lonberg. I am the minister at People's Church in Kalamazoo. And I encourage you all to vote in our upcoming elections. As a Unitarian Universalist, one of my principles is the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and in society at large. That means that People's Church believes that every person should have the right to make decisions about what is most important to them, whether that is theology or public policy. And that we should all have a voice in shaping the institutions that shape our lives, whether that is our congregation, our county, or our country. So I encourage you, if you are eligible, which means you are over 18 and a citizen and not currently incarcerated, to register and to vote in our upcoming elections. I know, that voting isn't the be-all and end-all of creating the beloved community. We know that it takes more than showing up at the polls a few times every year. But I also know that we need to use all of the tools and all of the opportunities available to us to make our vision real in the world. And that voting is one piece of that. So please vote, and please do all of the other things that you do to make this the world we want it to be. Thank you. Hello.
This slide is about the virtual banquet that we had in 2021, and Isaac's Banquet is the event of the year. And because of the pandemic, we had to do it virtually. And our guest speaker, our keynote speaker, was Dr. Michael Eric Dyson. It was held on Thursday evening, November 11th. And he had just published his latest book. And so we were able to get him as he was out promoting that book.
Dr. Michael Eric Dyson.
When people commented on this event. We have some of the comments about how Dr. Dyson's presentation inspired them, and you can see some of those comments. Telling the truth for sure. What a gift to hear this man speak. What a scholar.
This was amazing. You'd also hear people say this was inspiring, inspired to keep speaking up and doing the right things. So many good things were said about it.
Also at our banquet, we give out awards, and here are some of the people who won awards in 2021. We have Congregation of the Year, the First United Methodist Church, Public Ally of the Year, Homes for All campaign led by Stephanie Hoffman, David Artley, and Chris Burns.
We also gave a lifetime achievement to Ms. Kathy White from Galilee Baptist Church and the Clergy of the Year, Rabbi Shika.
Our elected ally of the year, Vice Mayor Patrice Griffin, and Woman of Equity Award went to Ms. Shalana Lewis.
Awards were also given to Leader of the Year, Ms. Wendy Fields, and 7th Leader of the Year, Mr. Adrian Vasquez.
To promote the banquet, people who gave sponsorships were allowed to do some videos. And on these next slides, you'll see some of the people who did videos based to sponsor our banquet. Rabbi Schicker, Elder King.
The virtual banquet sponsor videos were also for First Congregational Church as a sponsor, and also from Reverend Jocelyn Mason of Unity of Kalamazoo, also a sponsor.
We have People's Food Co-op was a sponsor. Ben Brown did a video, and People's Church of Kalamazoo, Reverend Rachel Lomberg did a video.
Also, videos were made from Parents United sponsor, Ebon Hemphill, and also again from President Wendy Fields, representing the Kalamazoo NAACP.
More videos, St. Luke's Episcopal Church, Reverend Dr. Randall Warren, and then Reverend Dr. Addis Moore from Mount Zion, and representing the Northside Ministerial Alliance.
Yes, we also had another videos as well from Hope Through Navigation sponsor, Ms. Gwendolyn Hooker, and also again from Director Adrian Vasquez El Concilio.
Unitarian Universalist Community Church, Reverend G. Levitt McCartney, and also at Genesis.
Also Dr. Michael and Tamara Scott, also Angela Graham, and our own TRHT sponsor, retired Captain Stace Ledbetter.
Special thanks to our banquet committee doing all that hard work behind the scenes. They're pictured on the slide. Amy Peterson, Dr. Charlotte Davis, Caleb Biter, Rick Johnson, Kara Randolph, Wendy Flora, Sheila Taki, Toby Hannah Davis, and Vanessa Collins Smith. Thank you.
The virtual banquet sponsors that we had were rooted in change sponsors, TRHT, the Truth, Racial Healing and Transformation, our equity sponsors, Fitzer Institute.
More sponsors are pictured on these screens at the Hope sponsor level.
More virtual sponsors, community sponsors, and featured here as well.
Community sponsors and peace sponsors are also listed and shown on this slide.
We have also some virtual banquet stats that we want to share with you. As of November 12, 2021, we had Facebook streams of 605, YouTube streams 293. As of July 1st, 2022, we had also Facebook streams of 1,300, YouTube streams 436. There are also notes to go along with that.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Certainly get the honor and privilege of remembering two very important people in our Isaac work, Miss Eileen Scammahorn and Dr. C.G. Charles. Eileen was one of the original members of Isaac, worked diligently on the first divided community task force that expanded the bus services throughout the county. She was a longtime warrior against injustice and will be missed by all of us that she mentored and guided. And that was written by Dr. Deb Lindstrom. And then Dr. Charles, who certainly is closer to me, who is my spiritual father, if you will. Dr. Charles was always probing deeply into the why of things. I so love that about him. I loved as well the Tabernacle and North teamed up for a series of gatherings and services to live into Dr. King's dream of building the beloved community. This is so true about him. Meeting him was to meet history, hope, and a generous spirit all rolled up into one human being. And that was written by Reverend Linda McDonald. So we certainly want to remember those two very special people. So, at some point in all our presentations, I always say I get to take a presidential privilege, although we rush through many slides, that we won't rush through this one. So at the NAA's 2021 Freedom Fund dinner, their honorees, if you will, our own Dr. Charlene Davis received the Humanitarian of the Year award. And so we certainly want to again congratulate her on this award. She is so well deserving of that award. And so we certainly want to recognize her and thank her. And I'll make a few more comments later, but we certainly agree. She's been nominated for so many awards, right? That we are grateful that she was certainly worthy and chosen for this award.
Thank you so much, Elder King. So the messages of hope, while we are doing this work, we know we call ourselves agents of change, warriors. We're out to make, a systemic difference. And then we also have to be honest that this work sometimes will bring pain and it becomes heavy. And so it's so very important for us to lean into our faith and also to hold on to each other. And so in thinking about messages of hope, I wanted to just give a special thank you to all of our clergy and leaders. As I reach out to them, they always come through with just wonderful messages of hope and encouragement to get us through this journey of justice. So we have Reverend G at UUCC. We have Elder King at Grace Covenant Ministries. We have Dr. Randall Warren at St. Luke's Episcopal, Reverend Rachel at People's Church, Apostle Valerie at the Empowerment Center, and then Malia at the Kalamazoo Islamic Center, Adrian Vasquez at El Concilio, and Rabbi Shicker at Temple B'nai Israel. A special thank you to them and everyone who has made videos of encouragement for us. And I'll hand this over to Toby.
That's me being very excited in 2019 when we surpassed our $50,000 goal that we had expected to take much longer to reach. It took us 2 years from the end of 2017 to the end of 2019. So at the end of 2019, we were jubilant that we had reached 57,000 and some. But look where we are now. At the end of 21, just 2 years later, we had quadrupled that amount. This is amazing, everybody. This is incredible. This is sustainability for Isaac, that our donors have been so very generous to our endowment fund. Thank you, everybody who's helping with the endowment. If you'd like to be part of this effort to keep Isaac's work sustainable, because we are growing the endowment all the time by investing, not just in everything because you get a good return on your investment, but socially responsible investment. We're the first endowment in the whole Kalamazoo Community Foundation to be committed to socially responsible investment. That means our money is doing the kind of work we want it to be doing, investing in the kinds of things we want to be investing in, and giving us a good return to grow our Isaac work. So in the blue, you'll see the link if you'd like to help. connect.calfound.org/give now. And then you have to put Isaac Endowment Fund. Don't forget this part where it says search for a specific fund. We really appreciate all of you who are endowment fund donors, as well as everybody who's donating to the ongoing everyday work of Isaac. Thank you so much. This is really a dream come true for us.
Awesome, thank you. We just want to allow you to see some of our grantors. You can see the names there that are listed, those who support the work that we do. Then you'll see our donors that are listed. Those who are on board are major donors. Those who have asterisks next to them are gems. We'll speak about that in a moment, but these are just an example of all those who contribute and help the work that Isaac and the community does. And we have our 2021 endowment donors. You'll see listed there. Again, we won't spend a lot of time on this, but we invite you to just take some time to look at where our revenue comes from. Certainly the bulk of our revenue comes from grants, and then you'll see other places where Isaac gets its revenue. And then obviously on the flip side, our expenses, you see the bulk of our expenses are on task forces, which are the boots on the ground work in GBI. And so, and then all the other places that our expenses are spent. And so please take time to go back and visit those pie charts. And also just want to, again, say GEM stands for Give Every Month. We had folks who did videos to just talk about why they give every month and how important that work is. So certainly invite you, if you're not currently a GEM, to begin to make that loving sacrifice. Myself, Rabbi Shicker, Reverend Mason did videos speaking to that, as well as Coach Schultz and Toby Hannah Davies. on Dr. Regina Nelson, Sheila Tachi, and Reverend Mike Wood and Deacon Pat Venge as well.
This slide represents Isaac's store. And first of all, I'd like to thank everybody that purchased stuff through our store, and also offer the opportunity for people to still purchase things through our store. And also we want to give a thank you to Noodles and Company. We had a fundraiser with them on our Giving Tuesday. And these are just a few pictures of people in our merchandise. And this is part of our Giving Tuesday that we partnered with Noodles and Company on. In addition to that, I know this has been a long evening, but we'd like everybody to stay on, because after the presentation, there will be a giveaway.
So just wanted to take a moment to thank the leadership of Isaac, our executive committee, that leadership committee which leads this organization, and then our leadership board, which are representatives from our member congregation and organizations who are kind of the backbone of what we do. We could certainly not do the things that we do without the leadership that we have. And so we want to thank our executive committee and our leadership board for your support, your guidance, your sacrifice in helping us to build a more beloved community. So I just want to take a moment. We talked about this a moment ago as I take my presidential thing that I do, but I want to just say thank you to the Isaac Executive Director, Dr. Charlay Davis. You know, so much of what we do you have to have a leader. There's a scripture in Hosea, and it talks about, you know, just that people perish for a lack of knowledge, and without a vision, people perish. And so I just want to say I'm honored to work with such a great group of people, but I want to recognize Dr. Davis. A friend of mine says it's a poor frog that doesn't croak about your own pond. And so I just want to brag about our executive director, brag about Isaac, brag about all of the task forces, the work that everyone does. You know, Micah 6:8, which is an Isaac foundational scripture, if you will, says he has shown you, oh man, what is good and what does the Lord require of you? You know, and that's to do good, to love mercy, to walk humbly with our God. And so I'm just grateful that God has blessed Isaac, blessed our executive director, and I'm certainly partial, right? And I think we have the best executive director that there is. And so we are grateful for Dr. Davis. But as I said here and just, wow, what has been accomplished over this last year by all the groups, by all the task forces, by all those who have given their time, their money, their resources, their energy to building this beloved community. Your sacrifice is certainly not gone unnoticed. And so as the president, I just want to say thank you for the work that you do. Thank you for your sacrifice, giving up time from your families and just everything to help build a more beloved community. And so thank you, Dr. Davis, for leading us. Thank you, executive committee. Thank you, leadership board. But most of all, thank you. Dr. King says everyone can be great because everyone can serve. And so I'm grateful that we all as Pastor Felton coined many years ago, that we are all servant leaders. And so what an honor it is to serve such a great group of people. I just stick my chest out and I'm proud whenever I say this is what Isaac does. This is what all our task forces do. We will not, we're not going to give up. I'll stop after this. I was always told that if you're not invited to the table of justice, pull up a chair and sit down, right? And so that's what we're doing, right? Whether we're invited or not, we're determined to stay at the table and continue to do this work to build the beloved community. So thank you, Dr. Davis. Thank you, Executive Committee. Thank you, Leadership Board. Thank you, task forces. Thank you, everyone that has been a part of this work that we're doing. Each and every one of you is vital and critical. And on behalf of Isaac and the Leadership Executive Committee and the Leadership Board, we love you and just want to say thank you. So Dr. Davis, I will turn it to you to see if you have thank yous that you want to do.
Yes, thank you so much, Elder King and our Isaac beloved family members. Just wanted to give a special shout out to Caleb. You can't see him because he's handling the live stream and the Zoom, but just a special thank you to him as he has been helping us navigate this still virtual world. So a shout out and hearts up for Brother Caleb. And then also our annual meeting planning committee, as well, Mark Shade, our web person, part of our annual meeting planning, Sister Ashante, Sister Kathy, Brother Irving, Mr. L, Brother Caleb. And I do want to say this final bullet here, I do want to lift Elder King, our president. Just a special thank you to him. Elder King has been an awesome leader. And he has also, thank God, been able to lean in through the hills and the valleys and the mountains and the valleys, which are the journey of life and the journey of Isaac. And so I always say that it is because of all of you all, and then Elder King for keeping Isaac afloat with prayers, with his leadership as president. We thank God for you. So a special thank you.
Beautifully said, Dr. Sis, Elder King. I love it. So right now we're going to talk about voting again on August 2nd. And we just seen the powerful videos throughout this presentation this evening. And so what I want everybody to do that's on the call, if you're voting, raise your hand. One of the things we definitely have to understand is primaries do matter. And we definitely need to vote. Our vote is our voice. This is where we need to make a difference. We need to also be aware of who the officials are, what it is they're doing. Are they serving our best interests? And all this information is at Vote 411. You can find out what's going on with your officials, but we need everybody to vote. So the last thing that I'm going to do is I want everybody to touch 5 people that you know and encourage them to also get out and vote. And make sure you let people know that you can vote in Michigan with a felony. Let's all vote. These primaries make a difference. These are the ones that are going to our November ballots. Vote August 2nd. Thank you.
This is what everybody's been waiting for. This is our giveaway. What we're going to do is Caleb's going to spin the wheel. And as your name comes up, you have the opportunity to pick anything from the Isaac store, and you'll be able to, we'll purchase it for you. All you'll need to do is reach out to Isaac, and we'll make sure that you receive whatever item you choose. And the store is linked to Isaac's website. So you can just go to Isaac's website and find any item you want, and it's yours for free. So our first, and there'll be 4 winners. Our first winner is Deb Lindstrom. Second winner is Rachel Lonberger. Third winner is Ken Van Streen. And our final winner is well, we'll have to spend one more time.
That's so good.
Dontre Hemphill. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah.
And we will close our meeting today with a poem by Amanda Gorman, the 2021 inaugural poet. And it's The Hill We Climb, and it's just the final lines of it. We will build, reconcile, and recover in every known nook of our nation, in every corner called our country. Our people, diverse and beautiful, will emerge, battered and beautiful. When day comes, we step out of the shade, aflame and unafraid. The new dawn blooms as we free it, for there is always light, if only we're brave enough to see it. If only we're brave enough to be it. May it be so today and always.
Thank you, everyone. That concludes our annual meeting. We said 7 to 9. It is 8:56. We did it. So thank you, everyone. Again, thank you to everyone. That concludes. Anything else, Dr. Davis? You're good. Awesome. Well, everyone have an awesome, amazing night the rest of this week, and let's continue to build a beloved community together. Bless you all.
Love you all. Thanks.